Merch Money. We are live here with Brandon from Cloud9 Prints. So welcome. And
Hello,
guys, I
everyone.
apologize
Thank you
for my
having
internet.
me.
I see it glitching a little bit. So as you guys know, I just moved to Missouri and our internet is not very good right now. So I'm looking into switching it and trying to get better internet. But in the meantime, bear with me. At least hopefully on the podcast, it'll sound better. You won't see the like glitching screen. But anyway, thank you, Brandon, for being here.
Thank you for having me. Super excited to be here.
So for anyone who hasn't met Brandon yet, I met him through Clubhouse. So if you guys are on Clubhouse, definitely follow Brandon, follow myself. He was on both of our marathon lives, the 6-hour long lives that we did.
Yep.
You stayed on quite a while too, right?
Yeah, I was going to say the first one I managed to stumble on right when the room started. And then I was there right until the end.
Are you serious? Oh my gosh. I knew you were there a long time. I didn't know you were there the whole 6 hours. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
When I first
set it through, it was great.
Amazing. When I first set that up, I was imagining people were going to keep coming and going and coming and going. I was so surprised how many people stayed the entire time. I was like, maybe I shouldn't do 6 hours. I don't want people to like dehydrate or something.
I know. Yeah, it was crazy. I was going to say, like, right from the beginning, basically to the end, there were a lot of people in there. So it was awesome.
Awesome. Well, you are, I can't wait to learn more about you, but everything that so far that I've learned about you and hearing you on Clubhouse, you had so many good nuggets to add and things to add. But let's start from the beginning. How did you get into print on demand and where are you now with your company and all of that?
It's a good question. So the story actually begins kind of a while ago. I went to a trade school in high school. And while I was there, I was in the graphic design program. And that school and like the program is kind of unique. So it wasn't just design where we were learning Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign, basically the entire Adobe suite. It was also half of a print shop. So we had like a 4-color screen press in there. We had a couple manual machines like that you would print, for example, newspaper on. We would print like all of the paper materials for the school and everything like that. And that's really where the interest in graphic design, POD, all of that stuff came from. It's kind of crazy because I have shirts that like I printed in high school. I didn't anticipate myself necessarily getting back into it at first. So I still have those.
Cool high school. I've never even heard of that.
Yeah. So that was really awesome just to kind of get like the foot in the door because I got to learn design from like a young age and physically print stuff when I was like 14, 15 years old. So.
And was that in Colorado or where is that?
No, so I'm actually from Massachusetts originally, from a pretty small town called Mendon. Yeah, it's like maybe 4,000 or 5,000 people live there. It's a pretty small town, but yeah. So that was where the whole thing began, basically. And then after I graduated high school, I went to college, and I envisioned myself doing sales for a while. I was pretty into that after I graduated sales. After I graduated college, I was in sales at IBM for 2 years. And then I ended up leaving that, and Cloud9 began about a month later. That's when it started. So kind of mixing up some words there by accident. But yeah, that's kind of like the quick lowdown of how I started and kind of how everything began with Cloud9.
Wow. Well, that is really neat to start all the way in high school. And it's so cool that your high school had printing machines and all of that. Yeah. My high school definitely did not have that. I didn't even know anything about print on demand in high school. Actually, it probably didn't even exist. I'm so old. Printing, the newspaper part probably existed.
I was going to say, I feel like, transfers and screen printing and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Ages, so. Yeah.
I'm not that old yet. I don't predate newspapers. Almost. But anyway, So in college, did you study graphic design and all of that too, or were you in
No.
something else?
So, I mean, I guess kind of. Like, I was a communication major, and so like I wasn't doing any physical design or anything like that, but there were a couple classes that I took, that were more related to how people like act online, that I guess are somewhat relevant now to where, we work with a lot of people that have stores online and we have stores ourselves and stuff. So definitely was relevant, but wasn't anything to do really with what we're doing now.
So connected that. So you finished college, and then your friend was doing print on demand a long time. Is that what it was, or Dan, or how did that happen?
Yes. So Dan is also from Massachusetts originally. He is actually the cousin of a really good friend of mine who I was roommates with in college.
Oh.
And I was living in Massachusetts, just talking to that friend of mine. And basically, he's like, yeah, I have a cousin, and he's like a good friend of mine who also wants to move to Colorado. So me and Dan ended up moving out here with two other people. And that was in November of 2019. And then Cloud9 began in March of 2020. Really, where the dots get connected there. One of the people that we had moved in with was doing pretty high volume drop shipping at that point, and most of it was apparel. So like right when the pandemic started getting kind of bad for the US / like overseas in China, it was pretty apparent that drop shipping, at least from China, was not really going to be a thing anymore, at least in the short term. So we realized that there was going to be a pretty big need for US-based apparel production. And because we had a friend who just like literally got cut off basically overnight, he was trying to order a large order of like a couple thousand units, and they basically told him no. So we had a couple clients who were kind of built in, so it took away a little bit of the, I guess, like risk almost, where like, we didn't have to go and get our first clients like right when we got the machine. We were kind of slammed actually, and like had to learn very quickly. So yeah, that's kind of like how things got started. Like we just realized that, the old way of doing things wasn't really going to exist anymore. So
wow, well, so neat. So were your parents like worried about you moving out of state and starting a company, or like, tell us that story.
Without a doubt, yeah. So there's actually, I guess, one little tidbit that I left out too. So while I was working at IBM, I got into reselling pretty heavily on like eBay and Amazon and all that stuff. So what really motivated me to kind of leave IBM, move from Massachusetts, move out to Colorado, I had basically matched the money that I was making at IBM with those, ways of generating income. So they weren't really too thrilled about that, if I'm going to be honest, just because like they're more traditional, and I understand it, they're more traditional in the sense where like both my parents have worked at the same company for, I don't know, 15, 20 years, basically. They value stability and all of that stuff, but I'm just a little bit different. So they weren't really too thrilled.
I feel like it's like perfect, because would you consider yourself Gen Z? Is that what you are? Or millennial?
I'm 1996, so I'm like right on the edge.
You're right on the edge,
I think. Yeah.
Because we haven't, I don't think we've had a Gen Z person on yet. We've had maybe, I don't know. There's been a couple people that are like, because you're what, like 24, something like that?
24. Yep.
24. Okay. Yeah, I think we've had a couple people mid-20s, but I'm always interested because the world is changing so fast. So it's like such a big difference from millennial, Gen Z, Gen X. Like it's so much changing so fast. So I love that. I love that you just dove in, started a company. It's exciting. So it's fun to see your point of view. And so you guys start the company, and it's printing T-shirts, but don't you also do other things like design and social media and stuff like that too?
Yeah. So when we first began the company, we actually didn't have like an office space or anything like that. We moved the printer, we got it delivered to our house, and then moved it into our living room. So like we moved the couch and everything out of there and just transformed the living room into a print shop.
Amazing.
And which is pretty funny, just like, you know, thinking about in hindsight. But yeah, so we did that, and initially we were just focused on the printing. As our business has evolved and we've been able to, you know, move locations, get more space, get some employees, really like grow a lot, we've realized that, you know, just offering printing kind of silos us a little bit. Like, you know, earlier you used the phrase actually like connecting the dots. So like a lot of times I'll reach out to people directly, you know, that we want to work with, whether it's like companies or, you know, people that have some influence on TikTok, Instagram, whatever it might be. Not as much TikTok now with the whole spring thing, but yeah, so just reaching out there. And there's a lot of people that want to sell merch, or businesses that don't specialize in merch but want merch, and they're not really sure how to go about designing it or how to start a store or anything along those lines. So we've really found that there's a need for some of those people, for like design and web-based services. So we have some designers in-house that we kind of utilize for that. And then on the other end too, just handling printing is great, but at the same time, really utilizing DTG printing is utilizing it in a POD manner. So that's really only possible if you have your own fulfillment center as well, or like you have a fulfillment team or something like that. So yeah, since we first started, we've added the design aspect and we've added fulfillment. So we do all the pack, ship, all that type of stuff for most of our clients. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, let me pause for just a second and say hi to Judy and hi to 5 League Chocolate. That's Jacob tapping. So welcome, guys. And feel free to ask questions to Brandon too. I feel like we can all learn a lot from him. I love that you just dove in and are just conquering everything, learning everything. I think it's like really exciting to just start like right away. And it's interesting that you did work in a like somewhat corporate job out of college, because I kind of did that too, but I did it for like 10 years. And I feel like that actually has really hurt me because I don't feel like I adapt as quickly, like, and it might just also be age, but I don't know. Like, I think I got a little bit too into the mindset of an employee and things like that. Like, I mean, obviously I've been able to start a business and do some things, but I think I would be further along if I had started younger rather than like being an employee for so long. So I don't know. What are your thoughts on that? Like, was it a big change for you to go from IBM to working on your own?
Yeah, I mean, IBM especially, just because like the company worldwide is about 400,000 employees, I believe. It might be closer to 350 now since the pandemic, but it's a huge, huge company.
Yeah.
And like the office that I was in, especially, I mean, there were probably, I don't know, 2,000-3,000 people that were based there. So for me, going from being in the office like every day, 8 to 5 or whatever it might be, to kind of being a solopreneur, I guess is the way you could put it at first, definitely was like a big change. But if I'll be honest about it, like I kind of always had the vision of working in sales for a while, like for you know, a big company, and I was lucky to work for IBM. It's a great company, but at the same time, I had always anticipated myself in like 5 or 10 years kind of moving on and doing my own thing. And this just happened to come up like a little bit earlier than the anticipated time frame. Yeah, so
exciting.
It was just right place, right time, I guess, in that aspect.
Well, there you go. Well, Patty's saying, Helen, he's so young, I feel old. Well, Patty, it's one of those things. It's
I look
We
young
all
too.
we all were the babies at one point in time. And speaking of that, is so funny, Patty. Like you guys all know I moved to Missouri, and my husband's at Fort Leonard Wood. He's in a training right now. And I haven't ever lived on base, and we're actually still not living on base. We're right off base, but I go on base a lot more often than normal. And I completely forgot how old I was gonna feel. Like everybody looks way younger than Brandon even, and I'm like looking around like, oh my God, I feel like I'm in high school or something. It's pretty funny. Yeah, I definitely.
It's kind of funny
It
that you
happens
say
to
that,
everybody.
actually.
Like I'm turning 38 in a couple weeks, April 2nd, and it's like it's so funny how like it just goes so fast. I mean, it's like in my head, I still feel like I'm 25, but anyway.
I kind of relate to that, actually. It's just like the last couple of years since college. I look back and I'm like, I graduated in 2018. Feels like yesterday. It's 2021.
Yeah,
Like, Jesus.
and the
Last 3
years are
have just
so. Oh, sorry. The years, so much more
no,
stuff
it's okay.
happens when you're younger. So probably like if you go to think about, I don't know, anybody you knew a couple years younger, it's like so much happens in those couple years. Like, I don't know.
Yeah,
But anyway,
it's crazy.
back to your story. Sorry, we got sidetracked on age, but I love my stepson's graduating high school, and he kind of feels like sometimes he gets down on his generation, or like thinks people are lazy or things like that. And I'm like, I like feel the opposite. I feel like Gen Z, like I just want to like sit there and take notes all day from you guys. Like I'm like just like you, like on the cusp, but I'm on the cusp of millennial and Gen X. So it's like sometimes I say I'm millennial, sometimes I say Gen X, because it's like, I don't know. I'm an old millennial.
Yeah.
But I really think the like young millennials and the Gen Zs, it's so, I just am like obsessed with everything you guys are doing. Like I love TikTok. I love just the creativity and the just so much. Like I love that you're on Clubhouse early, and
Yeah.
how do you what is your opinion, first of all? Do you feel like what are your thoughts on all of that, Gen Z and everything that you're doing?
Yeah, so I mean, I guess I have like kind of a unique perspective, just because when I was in college, I was a communication major. So we really look back kind of like all throughout time, from when like the telephone was created, like the television, back to like Nickelodeon type stuff. If anyone actually knows what that is, I'll be impressed, like where Nickelodeon comes from. But yeah, so I guess I have like a little bit of a unique perspective. I think that a lot of the creativity within my generation is kind of driven by the internet. So like so much of that, just every generation previous to mine, like none of these ways of communicating or forms of creation, whether it be, just like adding a sticker to something on Snapchat or whatever it might be, down to designing something completely original, like on Photoshop or whatever. It's like these technologies have only been around for so long. So I think we're still, and it's crazy to think about, like probably in the infancy of the internet.
Yeah, it is.
And it's crazy to think about where things are going to be in, 5, 10, 20 years from now.
Yeah, everybody's going to have to just keep adapting and keep learning, and because it's all changed so much just in the last few years, and then going forward, I think it's just going to be accelerated, like so much new technology, new just everything.
There's a thing called Moore's Law that kind of explains that a little bit, but it more refers to like computational power. But it basically is just I learned ironically in college, but it's just like the rate or speed of technology change like doubles. I think it's like every time within a certain period. So just like as we move forward,
it's going straight up.
The change is only going to be quicker and quicker.
Yeah, I think so too. I just think like, and even like this pandemic and everything accelerated everything so much faster, because now everybody was stuck at home, so they had to be on Zoom and had to be online. So it's like, we shaved off a few years there in the learning curve. Like it just had to go really fast. So,
Yeah,
well, anyway,
exactly.
we'll
And
get
I was
back to
gonna
your
say,
company. I'm sorry, Judy. Judy was
oh, it's
asking
all
more
good.
about your company. I'm just so excited to have someone like Gen Z on that we can like to ask so many questions. Okay, she
Yeah.
says, Brandon, does your company product as well or strictly print?
Oh, yeah. So we have a design team as well in-house. So we do both the print and design side, whether it's apparel design or web as well. Because, like I did actually talk about it a little bit earlier, but some of the people that we connect with who want to sell merch, they don't really know much about designing the merch or how to actually get a platform to sell it. So we help with that as well.
Cool. And do
Mhm.
you connect to like Shopify or Etsy or anything like that? Or is it like
Mhm.
manual orders?
Yeah, so we definitely do like some manual order stuff right now where people can
Mhm.
just, get in touch with me or someone at the company. But right now, most of the whether it's products or people, whatever it might be, our integrations are mostly with Shopify.
Okay.
We're working on building out an app actually, so we'd be able
Nice.
to like directly integrate in that space, just make our process a little bit more seamless. And once we get that built out, we're hopefully going to expand to Etsy and some other marketplaces as well.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if I put your website in the link. So if you guys are watching this in the future, it'll probably be there. But for now, for people watching right now, what is the website?
It's www.cloud9prints.com, and that's
Great.
9 like the numeral.
Perfect.
Mm-hmm.
All right. What other questions do you guys have? I like that it's all together. So you have the social media. So let's just say somebody needed help with social media. What kind of stuff would you guys do?
Yeah, so I mean, we don't really like specialize in helping grow social media pages or anything like that.
Okay.
I mean, like we definitely have a lot of people in our network that's kind of their specialty, but really, if someone was looking for social media stuff, like we'd be able to provide them with some design services. So, if you
Okay.
needed videos to help grow or, whatever it might be, like photo material or graphic material or whatever it might be, yeah,
Okay.
it would help in that sense.
Cool. And then Judy's also asking, how are you drawing an audience to your site or customer sites?
Yeah, so I might have spoken about that a little bit earlier. So our site directly, honestly, like we don't really try to drive that much traffic to at all, actually. Um, I mean, I'll like use it as a reference point sometimes for people, like if they want to see work examples or whatever it might be, but we really haven't tried to drive any traffic to our site for the most part. We have a pretty decent network kind of built up where we've been working kind of off of referrals, and a couple of the people that are in our network, they've been able to really grow their brand because of print on demand. So our demand has kind of grown with them, if that makes sense. So we've been kind of lucky where we haven't really had to go out and actually capture like that many new clients because some of the people that we're already working with have just been growing what they're doing. And a lot of that audience, where they're growing and getting traffic from, it's, Instagram or TikTok or wherever it might be, whether it's brands or influencers.
Nice. Well, that's always good if you don't have to, if you have enough traffic just with the people that you know. And I know what you mean about how like
Yeah.
they're getting bigger and bigger, so it's making your business get bigger. Like that's good.
Yeah.
I like Travis's
Great.
question. I feel like this is probably a question he has to answer all the time, so he's making you answer it. Travis also has a printing company. So his question is, how do
Mm.
you differentiate yourself from the big guys?
Yeah, it's a good question. And honestly, it's something that over like the last couple weeks, I almost feel like has gotten a little bit easier because it seems to me like a lot of people, work with Printify or whatever, existing POD service already exists. But around Christmas time, like last year, and it seems like some of the issues are kind of ongoing a little bit. It's just their orders have gotten like so backed up to the point where people are waiting basically what the wait time would be if you were drop shipping, you know, where it's like 3, 4, 5 weeks, whatever it might be.
I know, and then
So
at that
it's
point,
not
it's
only
like,
that, yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. And not only like that, just from the price standpoint too, I think a lot of times people are able to find better prices if you're going to work with, you know, maybe a more local or a smaller provider of DTG, because you actually have room to negotiate. Like if you want to work with Cloud9, you can just talk to me, and like, you know, we can try to find something that is going to work. So it's not really like you're just looking at the screen and there's the price. Like you build relationships, and you know, it's not really just such an automatic transaction. Like it's a thing that you can actually build. So I think that's where we've been able to find our niche and differentiate there.
Perfect. I love how natural you are. Like I could see that you could be good at sales, because nothing about that seems like a sale. It's like a hard question and you just answer it with like such ease. And
yeah, it's pretty funny.
Excuse me. I was asking about, I was talking about that last week or the week before. We were talking about sales, and it's like, sales is just helping someone and answering a question. Like it's not, people think about it the wrong way. So I love your approach where it's just like so chill and so like confident, answer the question quickly. It's perfect.
I'll say I went through a good amount of sales training. Like when I was in, I did like sales competitions in college and all that stuff. And
really?
IBM sends you to global sales school.
What
stuff.
schools did you go to? Like, I didn't have any of this stuff. High school, I didn't have anything that you just said. And then college, there was no sales competitions. Oh my God.
Yeah, I kind of had to go seek that part out a little bit. There's not that many schools that offer that aspect, like the sales stuff, actually. So I went to University of New Hampshire. A plug there for UNH. The sales program is growing a lot and is great there now.
Wow.
When I was a student is when it kind of first began. So like I think it was the first or the second ever competition at UNH. I came in third, or like 50 people doing it or something like that.
Wow.
And then if you're in like sales club at UNH, which, you know, anyone can join if you're interested in sales, there's a couple competitions that are more national. So like there's one in Florida. We went to one in Ohio that I did.
Wait, anyone can do it, or you have to be in college?
So yeah, you have to be a student in the school. But
oh my God,
I know, right?
That is so cool. I went to business school at Rutgers, and I don't even think we had sales at all. Like I know it's so long ago, I probably forgot, but like we had accounting, we had marketing, we had finance. I don't think there was any sales, none. I'm like, how do you get a business school degree? And like nobody ever taught sales, which is so important. Luckily, I just kind of was naturally good at it, but it's like, I don't know, like that's such an important skill to have. And I don't remember a single sales class. So I'm glad that that's changed. I'm glad they're teaching it in college now, because that's up there with number one most important thing.
I was going to say, it's like, I think like 20 or 30% of jobs for kids that go to business school, 20 to 30% of them will get sales jobs within like their first 2 or 3 years of graduating. But I want to say the statistic was like 2%. It's only 2% of colleges have either a sales major or minor, which is just crazy when you think about it.
Yeah, there for sure wasn't a sales major or minor, but I don't even think we had a single class. That's the crazy part. It wasn't even like a class. Like we did have one negotiations class, which I guess is kind of similar. That was really fun. I really liked that one.
Sounds like fun.
Yeah, it was so cool, because it's like making you think about what, like they wanted to get you away from like just arguing price and like meeting in the middle. It's like, no, there's so much else to it. Like, what do they really want? You know, what do they really not want? And it really got you to ask the right questions and everything. Okay, Travis has another question. What are a couple things you wish you would have known when you started your fulfillment business?
That's a good one.
We gotta have Travis on here doing the interview, because he's another person with a similar business.
I was gonna say, yeah, my business partner actually, I think, just met with him today. Travis is
Oh,
local to
awesome.
Colorado too, so yeah, he came through our shop a couple weeks ago, which was great.
And Neil
Um,
is in Colorado too. I think Neil may have met with Travis. I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong, Travis. But yeah, Neil would be another one for you to meet
that's
if you haven't
awesome.
already.
That's awesome. Yeah, I don't think I have yet, but maybe in the future, it'd be great. And I'll answer the question too. So yeah, that's a good one, Travis. Actually, we did not anticipate how just like quickly the demand can build up, basically, because it's almost like obviously it's an integrated business where like we have it in house and everything, but it's almost its whole separate business because like going through and printing a 500 shirt order is great and you get through the 500, but then if you have to go pack and ship like 450 orders after that because some of them are singles, some of them are multis, whatever it might be, yeah, it's kind of like a whole nother a whole nother thing. So initially we didn't really realize how quickly the demand can build up for fulfillment. And yeah, we really like within the first 2 months, because we kind of had some clients like built in, we made a lot of mistakes, like years worth of mistakes up front, um, which wasn't great at the time, but was a learning experience for us. So we've been able to kind of just learn and move past that and fix what we needed to.
Perfect. Do you sorry, I don't even know how to phrase the question. Um, like how do you manage when demand is always kind of changing? Like sometimes there might be spurts in demand with holidays or different things. Do you have like ways to increase your output, I guess?
hmm Yeah, for sure. So we're still kind of a smaller shop right now. We have a couple employees who work for us. Um, we have people who are just dedicated for fulfillment right now, but we've basically trained everyone who is on board with us how to do fulfillment, because
Okay.
not to say like it's easy or anything like that, but the process of learning fulfillment compared to learning how to pre-treat or learning how to print or whatever it might be, like out of all of our processes, that's the fastest one for people to pick up typically. So, and actually this is something that's happened like over the last few weeks where our demand has picked up a little bit, and, we'll kind of just switch people's roles around a little bit, where we'll have our person who's on pre-treat just switch over and help, on the fulfillment end of things. And it's been working out pretty well for us. So
That's smart. That's good to do that. Have some backup fulfillment people. All right, Travis he's got all the hard questions today. What
I
kind of
love it.
mistakes?
I love it.
He's probably taking notes. He's gonna be
What was this question?
next time he gets grilled, he'll be like, okay, let me see. That was a good answer.
Oh, what was the question?
What kind of mistakes have you made?
Oh, what kind? That's a good question. So we have definitely kind of shored up just like what we're doing in-house in terms of organization and how we're actually setting up our physical location to enable people for success. So like where I'm going with that is we're not shy to just like completely rearrange our fulfillment area one day to make it easier for the people that are working for us and ourselves, because like we pack packages too when need be, just to make it easier for everyone. So like when we first started, we were almost kind of reluctant to do that, and we just like had had our setup and just tried to work with it, and we realized that that's not the best way to go. Um, we've also kind of made some mistakes in just the sense of I don't know if I'd say like hiring, but just like finding the right person for the job, for any job, but especially fulfillment, um, has been something that was a challenge for us at first, and we've kind of figured out as time has gone on. So yeah, that was a little tough to figure out at first, and definitely one of the areas that I guess you could call a mistake a little bit. But yeah, we figured it out as things have moved on.
Nice. Yeah, I think that's a good little nugget right there about like don't be afraid to change anything, like your workflow, anything.
Hmm.
Even switch out people if they're not working out right or
Yeah,
in the wrong job or there anything you can change. And the quicker the better
because you
because
can always go back, you know,
yeah, I think a lot of people
with
drag
what's
their
going on.
feet with stuff like that. Like they want to just keep going with the way they started. Like, and it's better to just make some little tweaks, make some adjustments.
Hmm. And that mindset, I was going to say, like, has actually just been good for our business as a whole, because it was something that initially for fulfillment, we were just like, this system's not like working out, and we really got to do something here. And that's kind of overlapped into our print setup and everything too, where it's gotten us thinking like, okay, is this the best way to have everything set up? Like, can we do more shirts per hour if we change the way that, printers are arranged and whatever it might be? So yeah, it's really carried along like throughout our entire company, basically.
Awesome. Well, what else? What have we not talked about yet? What other things do you want to say, or anything else about your company?
Mm. It's a good question.
I know you do
Um,
T-shirts. Is that the only product? Do you do any other
yeah,
products?
no, so we do like everything. Um, I mean, for like DTG type stuff. So we'll do, crews, hoodies, t-shirts, long sleeves, tank tops. Like we've done some sweatpant type stuff. Um, really anything that is like above a 50-50 blend for
Okay.
cotton is really what we work with. We're still experimenting right now. Like we want to be able to do closer to 100% or 100% polyester garments.
Mm-hmm.
But doing DTG printing on those is way harder than
Yeah.
like a 100% cotton or, a blend. So
Maybe let's explain what DTG printing is. What exactly is it?
yeah, yeah. So the way that I explain DTG printing to most people is DTG printing is just like a desktop printer, but instead of putting a piece of paper in there, you put a t-shirt in there and it comes out just the same way. So, there are no limits for color, print photo quality, whatever it might be. You put like filters and all that good stuff to make it look, distressed or whatever it might be, all of that stuff. So yeah, that's like kind of just, I guess, a quick overview of what DTG is.
Nice. Are there any things that you've noticed with, I guess, like sellers like myself or like anyone that sells something on demand? Is there anything that we could do differently to help you people like you, fulfillment centers? Like, is the communication off, or like do you notice things that happen that could be better, or expectations not set right? Or
Yeah. I was gonna say, I mean, we're still like working through our process internally. Um, we've had a couple people that just recently we've started doing POD for who aren't really familiar with POD, are more, I guess, familiar with like traditional methods. So it's been kind of interesting to try to work out with them, how exactly our workflow works and just everything like that. Um, so yeah, that has been kind of something in of itself. Um, what was the question again? I just got sidetracked.
I think that was it. Like, if there's anything that you noticed that from
Oh
your
yeah, yeah.
end that we
Okay.
could do better.
I was gonna say
How
I
do
just
you
got
guys
sidetracked.
communicate? Do you communicate through email, or how does it work?
Yeah. So I mean, a lot of the people that we work with just like have my phone number or Danny's phone number. They'll just call us, text us, or email. We do a lot of communication that way as well. And if needed, like we'll hop on a Zoom call or whatever it might be, for a more face-to-face type thing.
Thanks.
Yeah.
So do you find that
I
most of
realize.
your customers are brands or influencers or people like that, or are most of them like print-on-demand sellers?
Yeah, so it's kind of been like a mix for us right now, which is kind of weird, actually. Like we, when you think about it, it's almost like maybe we should find a niche within those three, kind of. But Yeah, I mean, we've found success in working with influencer people where, whether they're like a gamer or a model or just, someone who has built up a following on a platform. Yeah, we found that to be a pretty good avenue for people because they want merch but don't really know how to go about actually acquiring it.
Right.
And we found that a lot of brands too just like want to get off screen printing, not for quality or anything like that, because like I'm familiar with screen printing. The quality is great, like for screen stuff, but it seems like there's a lot of shops that haven't really updated to where they're offering fulfillment, or they can't meet like a minimum order quantity or whatever it might be. And it seems like DTG is kind of fitting in there for some people.
All right. Well, I think that pretty much was all my questions. I don't know if there's anything else you want to say. Is there anything, I guess just anything more about just the whole overall flow of it? Like let's just say you're working with an influencer. Do you help them? Like, is there any like package or any process? Like, do you design the logo and then design a marketing campaign, or what do you do?
Yeah. So that's a good question. Honestly, I'm like, maybe we should have a little bit more of a process type thing. Um, it just depends like on the person. Because I think I mentioned it earlier, but a lot of times, like before we'll jump into something with an influencer or whatever it might be, a brand or, anyone almost, it's great to have like a call with them and kind of just understand what they want a little bit more, because we don't want to be pushing people in a certain direction. Like with the capabilities of DTG and our company itself, it's like, I don't have to be pushing people towards like, oh, like a one color design, or like don't do photo quality type stuff, or like whatever it might be. So yeah, I mean, we've kind of just, yeah, it's
You, you
basically
just help with
what would you
whatever
say?
people need.
Yeah, I was gonna say like it's kind of on like a need by need basis. So like we do logo design, we do apparel design, we do web design. So like for example, there's some clients that we've worked with who have apparel, sell apparel, but do it like kind of locally and want to get that web presence. So it's like we'll just work with them only on the web side of things and then potentially do their printing down the line. Like there's some people that they're not even really interested in like the entire scope of things, if that makes sense. Um, so yeah, it's just kind of like on a need by need basis, like for sure. And that kind of, I guess, like goes towards something that I talked about earlier, like competing with the big brands. It's like when you work with a smaller company, whether it's someone like me or someone like Travis or whoever it might be, I think getting that face-to-face interaction, like you can truly explain what you want, like whether it's, based on apparel or like you said, like a logo or whatever it might be, and really be sure that the other person, no pun intended, is hearing you, So I think it's pretty great in that aspect.
Nice. What do you see for the future? Like, what are your plans for the company for the future, for yourself for the future? Any big goals?
Yeah. Yeah, so right now we are working on our automation systems here. So I'm super excited about that because once we get that in place, that's really going to be like what sets us up to work with more people on Shopify or on Etsy. Like we have the bandwidth to do so right now, but having that automation in place is going to just make our workflow so much easier, and allow us to have even more bandwidth to actually work with more people. So that's what I'm excited about right now. But there's like a lot of things actually. I think DTG technology in itself in the future is changing like rapidly. I haven't even mentioned it, I don't think yet, but our company is partnered with a company called Superior Inc. in Denver. They're like one of the largest screen printing companies in Denver. So they have a pretty sizable warehouse, a couple, like I think an 18 color and like two 14 color screens. And then they have like an embroidery division and all that stuff too. So when they kind of like approached us a little bit about that partnership, we learned more about their history with DTG. And in like 2014 or 2015, they actually bought a DTG machine and tried doing all that stuff themselves with print on demand. And it's just crazy. Like at that point in time, the way DTG works, you have to apply a coat of pre-treat on top of the shirt before you can print an image on it.
Oh, okay.
So at that point in time, pre-treat was still done with like a spray gun, like you would use to paint a car, like,
Oh, wow.
which is bananas to me, because
Yeah.
you really have zero control over like how much gets sprayed on the garment, or like I guess you have control over where, but if there's any wind or anything
Oh
coming
my
along,
gosh.
it's just gonna go everywhere. So yeah, like it's just, and that was only like 5 years ago. And DTG technology has come so far within that time frame. So it's
Yeah.
crazy to think of, you know, like a few years from now, what are the printers going to look like that we're working with, and you know what kind of workflow automation systems are already built, because that's something right now like we're having to build out that system ourselves. So it's just super interesting. I think I said earlier that the internet is in its infancy, and if that's the case, POD is still just a little baby, that's for sure.
Oh, POD
You
is
know,
still just a little baby. People like say that merch is saturated and stuff like that. Like, been saying that since it started, basically. I think people almost immediately started saying it was saturated. But I'm like, this
yeah.
is so early. Like, everything is so early.
Mm-hmm.
Print on demand just in general is so early. We've seen so many
Literally.
products added just in the time that I've done print on demand, added on merch, but also added on all the other platforms too. And it just keeps growing. I mean, just anything can be printed on. Puzzles, anything.
I know.
It's endless.
Truly, like it really is crazy. And yeah, I'm just, you know, there's going to be more marketplaces that come along, more integrations between sites and providers or whatever it might be. There's a lot to come in the future,
It's
like
so
for
cool
sure.
that you've already been approached to partner with somebody, and I'm sure that's going to continue, that more people will reach out to you. And I think that's such a good way to go, because it's like, for that company, it's smart for them. Like, they, instead of having to like buy a new DTG printer or like learn all of it, they're like, oh, you guys already know that? Perfect. We'll add you to the team. Like, I think that's a smart way to do
Mhm.
it.
Yeah,
So
and it's actually something that I think like print shops might not want to admit it, I guess, because POD is stealing a little bit of the thunder, in my opinion, for them. Um, but I think that, you know, there's a lot of print shops that don't want to do like 20 shirt orders or 40 shirt orders or whatever their minimum is. And, you know, it's like, would you rather turn a customer away, or would you rather have them go through you and do DTG, and then, you know, maybe the next run that they want is like 150 garments and makes more sense to get screen printed instead? Like the thing that's been really great about that partnership that we have right now, you know, it's like I was just explaining, like they don't really have to turn people away if they're looking for a small
yes.
order quantity. And if they send us those people and then they want, you know, an order that makes more sense for screen printing, we'll just send them right back. You know,
Yeah.
like so it's super advantageous for, you know,
For
everyone
everybody.
involved, because the customer gets what they want, whether it's, you know, a one-off shirt or 100 of them. And, you know, from the screen printing end, they can get that, or the DTG end, they can get that. So it works out for both of the companies as well.
Fantastic. I love Patty's comment. She said, you have such an amazing future, and thank you for all you shared. Completely agree.
Thanks, Patty. Thank you. I really
Just
appreciate that.
remember these days, and remember like to just never like get comfortable, because it's like it's gonna keep changing so fast. 24 to 38 happens quick. So be sure to I'm just happy that I started at least whenever I finally did, because it's it's exciting to always be learning. Like I like to just keep learning. That's one reason why I love doing these interviews once a week, because I'm always learning from whoever I'm talking to. And I think that's so important, because learning is just like any other muscle. Like, you got to keep doing it. You got to keep practicing, adapting and changing and looking at other things, because it's so easy to get sort of like stuck in your ways, especially once you figure out a system that really works. It's like so easy to just stay that way. But just fight against that as much as you can, because I think stuff is going to just keep changing faster and faster. And it's the more you can stay like nimble and stay like willing to learn, the better.
Yeah, I like literally 100% agree with that. And within POD, there's so much to learn, you know, whether it's like getting better at, I'm like losing my voice out here. Whether it's getting better at like physical design, whether, you know, using Photoshop or Illustrator, or, you know, updating your marketplace or your store or whatever it is, you know, or just finding a new niche. There's so many different things out there within POD that you can learn. And yeah, I think learning almost gets, not to say like a bad rep, but when I was in school, you know, I'm super guilty of it, being one of the people that like, I didn't read my textbooks all that much, and you know, I kind of procrastinated things and all that, but I'm super blessed and like lucky to be able to be in the POD space, because, you know, within the last like year, and it happened a little bit before too, but just within POD, it's really reignited that natural curiosity and just that, you know, natural like will to learn. And I've been able to pick up so much knowledge in an industry like I didn't even really understand. I knew printing just from like my high school experience, but I didn't really know DTG, you know, even like 15 months ago, basically, before we started. And it's crazy now to be like, yeah, we, you know, we're here every day. So yeah.
And learning doesn't have to be from a textbook. It can be just talking to people or observing. Somebody like Gary Vee, he just like literally observes people. And that's what he does. Like, he never reads.
I love Gary Vee.
Yeah, so you don't have to read. I like to read, but just just keeping that open mind, like Gary Vee is a perfect example, because he's always on whatever the latest social media is. He never says something like, oh, that won't be big. He'll say like, I don't understand it, maybe, but he'll never say that won't work. Like, he'll either say, yes, I'm trying it, or I just don't understand it or don't want to do it. But he'll never be like, oh no, that's going to be nothing. Like, so it's good to always keep
Gary Vee fan.
Keep that attitude of like, always just see, like, try it. Like, he probably didn't know if TikTok would be good or not, but like, he tried it, and like, you just try everything. And it's just amazing to see what happens from it. I mean, even like Clubhouse, like, I haven't done a whole lot on it, but it's amazing the amount of people I've been able to meet, like literally only going live 4 or 5 times so far. But it's so cool. You meet so many people. I've met people from TikTok too. I've had some people on the show that I met from TikTok.
That's awesome. Wow.
Because I'm not afraid.
I was gonna say Clubhouse has been great.
Yeah, it's like one of those things, like one of the good things about getting older is you don't really care as much what people think. Like, I definitely cared a lot more in my 20s than in my 30s. Now I'm just like, oh, who cares? Like, whatever you think about me is fine. But so because of that, like, if I saw somebody on TikTok doing awesome, I would like find a way to message them. Well, I guess you can message on TikTok, but I usually would find them on Facebook, because I'm 38 and Facebook is my place. But I would message them wherever I could, like Instagram or Facebook, and just start conversations with them, because it's like, I wanted to learn, and it's like, some of them I've become friends with. So
I think that I'll be honest, I mean, I hate to use it as like a cliche, but sliding in the DMs is, so many people are just like afraid to do it. It's actually Gary Vee like talks about it, and I just reread the 4-Hour Workweek, which talks about it too. Just like, what's the harm in going out and DMing like 100 people? You know, it's probably because I come from like a sales background, but I'm just like, realistically, even if only one person opens those DMs, and we end up like working something out, and I'm sending DMs to, you know, all like influencers or clothing brands or whatever it might be. It's just like even getting one of those people to work out, totally worth your time, like without a doubt.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't want to speak on it like too much because it hasn't actually happened yet, but for sure the biggest like deal / partnership that we have kind of closed / are like working on has come from just an Instagram DM, and I can tell you it's an account that I did not expect to get a response from in a million years. Not in a million years.
I've been shocked how many people like say yes, no matter what. Like random people on TikTok I message, or random people, especially for this show. Like the more successful the person is, it's almost for sure they say yes. And the least successful they are, it's almost for sure they say no. It's so opposite of what I thought. Like if somebody is just somebody, I'm like, whatever, they seem like a nice person, I'll go ahead and ask them. But they're not like that great, they'll be too nervous or too scared to come on. And I'm like, but then the people that are like, I'm like, oh, they probably don't know who I am. Like they're so successful. They're like, oh, sure. What time? Like, I mean, they're just, it's crazy how much it's like the opposite. Everything's like the opposite. It's like, just go for the successful people, talk to them. Don't be afraid. They're like so nice.
Yeah. Cause like the way I look at it, you know, it's like, the people, my DMs weren't really getting all that filled up from clients before or anything like that. So it's like, what's the harm in going out and reaching out to people, whether it be on Instagram or, you know, any other social media or wherever it might be, even going and like knocking doors. We just got business cards in not that long ago. It's pretty bad that we just got them, honestly, because we've been asked for like, I don't know, 20 or 30 times before. But yeah, so we just got those in, and I'm like, what's stopping me from just walking down the street and introducing myself? I don't know any of the other business owners or anything on the street. So I'm just like, I'll go in and say hi. At a minimum, I'm meeting the people that own all these places, you know, and maybe building some sort of connection there. I don't even care if we do shirts, you know. So
amazing. I'm not surprised you won that, or would you say third in that sales competition?
Yeah.
You should have won.
Yeah.
You should have won. I got to meet number 1 and 2, see what they did.
I know, right?
But that's cool. That's really good practice. If you can just knock on people's doors or cold call, that's like, if you can do that, you're good.
Yeah, and I honestly think that's a skill, like almost any business. Like there's some sort of way that you could manage to cold call people. And I think a lot of people are afraid of it, you know, whether it be from like a public speaking standpoint or just like the fear of rejection or whatever it might be. But just from my experience personally and like going through that program I mentioned earlier, Global Sales School, like I saw some people literally do their first like cold calls ever and all that stuff. And it's just like, once you do the first one, you realize that it's just picking up the phone and having a conversation. Like it might go good, it might go bad, but there's no harm in just picking up the phone and trying. You know, so
I remember I technically was doing cold calls at Bank of America, and like it took me months to realize that's what I was doing, because to me, I'm like, no, they're Bank of America customers. I was calling them to see if they wanted to refinance, but in my mindset, I wasn't thinking this is a cold call. I'm thinking this is a call to a Bank of America customer who needs to refinance, so they should. It was a long time later, after I had tons and tons of sales, that people are like, you know, you're cold calling, right? And I'm like, no. That's called a cold call? I'm like, no, this is definitely a warm call. Like, but it technically was called a cold call because they weren't expecting my call, and I was calling them. But yeah, it's all like how you think about it.
Literally had a similar experience at IBM. That's super funny.
Yeah. It's funny, like later people tell you, like, you know, that was like, most people don't want to do that, right? I'm like, really? Why would you not want to call people and save them hundreds of dollars a month? Like, I don't understand.
Yeah, I know, right? Like literally.
So.
I'm thinking about it now. I'm like, what's the worst that can happen? But I only have like one bad sales experience, actually, like truly bad one. Is at my first sales job. So I guess I'll talk about it real quick if you want.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Funny. Yeah, so I worked at Verizon. That's how I first got started in sales. It was my freshman year in college. I wanted to work in sales for a summer, and I applied to like 100+ places, and Verizon was the only place that interviewed me. And the manager literally told me, he's like, "Yeah, you just remind me of a younger me. Like, we want people with sales experience, but I'm gonna take a chance." So I'm like, "All right, great." And I guess I sold this family FiOS. Like, I mean, I was never really pushy at all, like, on, selling stuff. So even still today, like, I don't believe in that. Um, and so I got someone to switch from Comcast to Verizon, and it was just the husband who came in, and the wife, like a week later, showed up to Verizon. I was on my break, and someone asked for me specifically, which normally meant like someone wanted FiOS. So I was stoked to go out there and like talk to someone about it. And yeah, I went out there, and I was 18 at the time, and the lady just started screaming at me in front of the whole store. It was so bad, and like I didn't even have the chance to to be like what can I do to help? Like I tried to ask like what can I do to correct the situation, like all that type of stuff, and the lady just did not care. Like literally for 3 minutes was just berating me, and then like left the store.
Oh my god.
It's funny though, because like now I can sit back and like laugh at it, those experiences that in the moment don't seem great. As time goes on, I think a lot of times perspective actually shows a little bit the different light for a lot of those things. I can tell you I wasn't thrilled when it first happened, and I definitely wasn't smiling about it.
And those are the kind of things that stop people, where they like literally never want to do another like call again after that. And it's like, how do you expect that not to happen? Like, I guess like for me, it's like I was a manager at a bank before I went into sales, like doing mortgages. So to me, I'm like, I'm the person that has to deal with anyone who's angry. So I'm just like, okay, like to me, it's like all in a day's work. Like, of course you're going to have someone come in angry. Like it's going to happen at least once. And it's not going to be from me necessarily. It could have been from, whoever. They had a bad experience at Bank of America one time in their life, and I'm the person who they decide to yell at about it or something like.
Yeah, or their app's not working on their phone, and
exactly something totally unrelated to me.
Yeah. So, totally feel that.
Well, sorry, we went a little over, but thank you so much.
That's all good.
Are you at the company right now? Like, is Dan or anybody else there that wants to say hi?
Yeah, I think Dan might be out there. You want to give me like 10, 15 seconds?
See if anybody wants to come say hi real quick, and I'll see if there's any more questions.
Yeah, let me see if he's out here.
Guys, if there's any questions for Brandon or Dan or just in general, comment below. Thank you guys all for being here. Coloni saying, I'm not sure what your question is, Coloni. And then thank you, Travis, Patty, Judy, everybody. This was so fun. And I apologize, guys, if I went a little all over. I just had fun talking to him. So much to learn.
All right. We're back with
awesome. Dan. Oh, here, let me
switch
the screens a little so we can see better. There we go. Hey, how are you? Oh, I think your mic is muted.
There we go. Can you hear me?
There you go. Yes, I can hear you now. Perfect. Hey, Dan.
Hey, Helen. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Not too bad. Was just fulfilling some orders, making the
customer happy. Well, we figured we would just say hi before. We were just finishing up the interview, but I'm like, if Dan's there, we just want to at least wave and say hi.
For sure. Thanks for including me.
It was fun getting to talk to Brandon and fun learning more about your company. Are you on Clubhouse too?
Yes, I am.
All right, awesome. We'll have to get.
Man. Yeah, I lost my AirPods. I feel like I'm making it as an excuse to not be as active, but I'll be more on the Clubhouse for sure.
Yeah, well, whenever we have our next marathon, we'll have to make sure Brandon lets you know. Come join. I haven't picked a date yet, so it's a big time commitment for me because I stay the entire 6 hours.
Yeah, I've heard while Brandon was like tuning in. It's definitely a marathon.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll have to keep him in the loop though for sure. Would be great to get Danny in there dropping some knowledge too.
Yeah, it'd be great. Well, thank you guys so much. And Dan, is there anything you want to say before we head out?
Just love what you're doing for the community for sure, and definitely appreciate it and having us on.
Oh, you're welcome. Well, I appreciate you guys, and I love everything that you guys are doing, and keep us updated. Any changes, any new things that happen, keep us updated.
Will do. Thank you. Thank you
All right.
for having us and
night.
having me. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. We'll see you guys next time.
Bye.
Bye, everybody. I don't know if this is ending. Oh my gosh.